Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Good afternoon, ladies, or good evening, actually, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with Steph, Uncle Fulio, Tony Crow, and we're gonna go ahead and get right into it because we got like a whole slate of shows going on today, so we want to make sure we jumping right into it. Steph, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I feel like I haven't been on the show in over a week, so
Yes,
I'm really amped. We got a triple
yeah,
header today.
triple
I'm
header.
refreshed and I'm ready.
Yeah, no doubt. Josh, what's going on, man?
Salute Sam, salute Queen, salute Tony. The
Salute.
gang is back together for this
Yep.
triple header of shows. And I think we got a really good topic that we're going to cover in this episode. So I'm excited. Let's do it.
Yeah, no doubt. Tony, what's up, man?
What's going on? Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black it's time. Peace panel. Let's go.
Yeah, let's
get
get it. Let's get it. We're gonna jump right into it. According to Mark Stein, the Phoenix Suns are seriously going to consider entertaining signing trade offers for Deandre Ayton. So naturally, my question is, should the New York Knicks pursue Deandre Ayton? Now, and this is not even taking into consideration right now the other competition, because there's going to be competition. The Detroit Pistons, with the set with the amount of salary they have available, there's a lot of things that they can do. The Atlanta Hawks might be interested. We'll get into those, but just first and foremost, should the Knicks pursue Deandre Ayton? Steph, I'll start with you.
I think they should. I think they should look into it. I have concerns about what it would take money wise to sign him, not necessarily what it would take to get up to get it. To give up to get him. But I like him.
Yeah, money wise, that's the thing. We'll get back to it. We'll get around to that. Josh.
Absolutely. I mentioned this a few months ago back in during the season. I said, don't be surprised if DeAndre Ayton becomes available or Phoenix decides they want to shop him, because there's no guarantee he will come back to the Phoenix Suns, despite them having a championship run or a finals run and, getting back to the playoffs and being the number one seed. I have no problem with this. I know you guys have concerns about the money. I don't have concerns about the money as much as you guys do. And I guess I'll expand on that a little bit once we get into it.
All right, Tony.
Yeah, I think me and Josh are gonna have the same points for once. I think it's a no-brainer. I think he would be the best center since probably Patrick Ewing. You know what I mean? And he fits the timeline. So yeah, we'll get into it like Josh said.
I mean, I like DeAndre Ayton. I don't know what his max contract is, and if that's what he's looking for, and if that's the reason why the Phoenix Suns would be looking to, execute a sign and trade. My wonder is what he's worth still. You know what I mean? That's still what my question is about DeAndre Ayton. Steph, I know you have some concerns about how much he would cost, along with R.J. Barrett, etc.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I think how I'm looking at it, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong or disagree, is that if you got two max guys and either one of them are the guy, that's great. Even if you don't have a lot of money left over, how much do you really need? If you got two number ones or a number one and a number two, how much do you really need? But when you have that same amount of money tied up in guys who are not number ones or number twos, now you need a bit more to put around them, but less money to work with. That's just my question with tying the money up in RJ Barrett and Ayton. I don't see them as number one guys.
Yeah, see that's I'm kind of with you, Steph. I'm not sure if he's a number one guy, and I think his max contract is going to give him number one guy money, at least right now, along with R.J. Barrett, right? I think their max contracts are probably similar. What I'm looking at right now from Bobby Marks, it would be 5 years, $177 million. That's a max contract. Now, I don't know if that's what he's looking for or not. You know what I'm saying? But, man, if they're executing a sign and trade, what this tells me is that they're going to try to sign him for maybe what he's looking for, right? But then trade him to another team so that they don't have to pay that bill, right? So they sign him, trade him. He gets all of the extra perks that you get for signing with your with the team that drafted you and all that kind of stuff, but you get it with another team. And if that ends up being 5 years, $177 million, I don't know. Josh?
So, Sam, this is very layered. This is not as simple as I feel like I want the people to really understand what's going on here. First of all, 5 years, $177 million is his max contract number. I think RJ's 5 years, $181 million. Neither of those guys are max players. Let's just get that out the way.
Right.
None of those guys are max players. I think Deandre Ayton, none of them have made all-star teams. None of them have even sniffed all-NBA. So I don't think they're going to get a max contract. So let's just get that out the way. Okay. However, Steph, I will have to disagree with you as far as not having enough money to sign other players, because if you look, the Knicks are operating over the salary cap right now.
Not sign other players, sign a number one and still fill out the team. Yes, they'll have money to sign other players. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, but the point is that they don't, Steph. And what I'm trying to say is I understand I know the Knicks still would need a number one guy. I'm on board with that. But as far as bringing one in, I don't think having two guys that make that amount of money prevents the Knicks from doing that, or prevents any team from doing that, because these contracts are still tradable, right? I believe even if Ayton is making over $30 million or RJ is making over whatever it is, annual value of $36 million a season, those contracts can still be traded. So,
but Josh, we're not talking about trading them. I'm not talking about trading them. If you're signing them to build a team with them. So now you're talking about if they're not number ones, bringing in another one to play with them, not to trade them for a number one. Of course, you could trade them for a number one. Is there enough to add another one to them?
I look at some of the top rosters in the NBA. I look at Milwaukee's roster. I look at Golden State's roster. They have 3 players that are making over $30 million a season. 3 players. Now, again, I'm not saying whether this is going to take us to the next level or take us to championship status. I know that's pretty much what you're getting at. But yes, I believe we can sign another player if we have those 2 guys on the roster. The salary cap is going up. And listen, this is just hypothetical, because I don't think these guys are going to get max money. They're not getting max money anyway. But to me, I'm not that concerned if you have 2 guys on your roster that are making over $35 million a season. If you can't sign another guy that's going to make over $35 million a season, some of the top teams in the NBA right now that are contenders are doing the same thing with their rosters. I believe the Knicks can do the same as well.
So is your assumption that Julius Randle is being traded?
Absolutely. He would have to. I think he would be involved in that trade. I think, and I mentioned this, 5 months ago, I think Julius Randle will be in that trade. I think Phoenix can use a guy like Julius Randle in their offense. I believe he would play behind, as far as the leadership role, behind Booker and behind a Chris Paul. I believe he would fit right in what they do. I think he will buy in to what Phoenix has going on and the coaching. And I think Julius Randle will be included in that deal. So absolutely.
All right. Go ahead, Steph, and I'm going to come around to Tony.
Yeah, real quick. I agree with you, Josh, in terms of other teams that have it. But when you look at those guys, they are higher level players than Ayton and RJ Barrett. So yeah, look at Brooklyn. So all I'm saying is, if you have high level players like that, spend all the salary cap on 2 or 3 people if you want. How much more do you need? You could fill around them with lower caliber players. But somebody like RJ and Ayton, you're going to still need high level players. Even get the star, yes, but even the players you put around them are going to have to be higher level players than minimum.
Queen, I think it's a little bit more layered than that. I think even if you have RJ and Ayton there making over $30-something million a season, and let's say you add that third guy in there somehow, if they're not getting it done, you can move those contracts. The Knicks wouldn't be stuck, so to speak.
I'm not. That's what I'm concerned about being stuck. I agree with you.
I'm getting. That's what I'm getting. No,
I agree with you.
Even if the Knicks were to do it, they can sign another guy, another number one guy, star player, and make it work. Teams in the NBA are doing it right now. So this move, if we bring in Ayton, because a lot of people are concerned about the money, like the Knicks will be prevented from doing other stuff. That's not necessarily the case. I don't think that's
what I'm saying. I'm talking about the level of team that you could put together, given that these guys are not high level guys. I mean, I hope I'm making sense.
Right.
Like, you tying up your money in higher level guys.
Yeah,
no problem. You can get minimums to put around them.
Because let me ask this: is Deandre Ayton that much better? If you're trading Julius Randle, is he that much better than Julius Randle that's going to elevate your team? And I'm not saying elevate your team to a championship. I'm just saying elevate your team so that you're taking steps forward. That's what I'm saying.
No, Sam, but I think pieces matter, right? I think pieces matter. I think the RJ and Julius experiment is not working. And I think a lot of it is on Julius, right? But I think that experiment is not working. But let's say you have a player, for example, let's look at the Suns. They have Jay Crowder at power forward. He's not a better player than Julius Randle, right? But they got to the finals. They got to the finals.
Right, but they got other people around. Jay Crowder is not expected to take them to another level. He's a piece of their puzzle. But of course, you have, Devin Booker, you got Chris Paul, you got Deandre Ayton, you got those other guys. So, I don't know if you can. I don't think you can make that comparison there because Jay Crowder is a rotational piece. You're talking about a guy that's going to be a main cog, right? So Julius Randle's a main cog here. DeAndre Ayton is a main cog there. If you switch those guys around, does the fit make the team better here?
All I'm saying is it's worth experimenting. Like I said, I don't think these guys are going to make max money, but if you sign these guys, let's say hypothetically you sign them to max money, you can still have another number one guy play alongside them, and the rest of the pieces be minimum contracts. That is possible. That was the nature of the question.
Let me get to Tony. I don't know if that was just the nature of the question.
So let me start off with saying I agree with Josh in the sense that I don't think he's going to demand max or command max, I should say. And based off the lack of accolades, like you guys pointed out, I think that's a negotiating tool. So I'm going off the premise that it's not a max contract. It's a reasonable negotiation somewhere in between. Same thing I'm thinking with RJ. As far as the cost, I'm not including Randle because I
agree with that.
I think he fits that mold of center that everybody questions Mitch about spacing and things of that nature. He could shoot the ball, he could stretch the floor, he could not be in the way, right? So now we're talking potential double sign and trade with Mitch, something that now obviously this is not easy because we got to negotiate with Ayton, we got to negotiate with Mitch, everybody has to agree, and then we can throw in the expiring contracts to make this salary match because I don't think Mitch is going to command as much as Ayton.
Mm-hmm.
So throwing a Burks or a Noel if they want two guys, you know what I mean, to fill that role at center position. And then draft picks being the focal point of the trade, because if they don't want to spend the money, they're gonna want to save some money with the expiring. They're gonna want to have a cheaper center, which would be Mitch, and then a future asset in the draft compensation. So in that sense, I think it could work. We could do it, and then why I would do it, just he fits the timeline, a lot more durable than Mitch. You know what I mean? Brings a different dynamic to this team that we've been asking for in the position. And again, like I said earlier, that's probably the best overall center that we've had since Patrick Ewing. You know what I mean? So we'll hear that narrative like, can he live up to that or anything close to it? So that's my argument for doing it, and I think it could be done if all sides can negotiate.
Right. My only thing there is you're probably banking on. But I agree with you, right? I would want it to be Randle and Ayton and possibly and RJ together, right? But then you're banking on those three guys. Well, Randle, he don't make $30 million until, a few years down the line. We'll see what RJ makes. I doubt he's going to make $30 million. If somehow you can get all three of those guys for somewhere between $25 and $28 million a year, you might be looking pretty good.
And that's where I'm going. And then even though I'm still a fan of Randle, you know what I mean. But even for those who aren't, like that's still a piece that you can move in a different deal if need be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it fits the mold of just the young guy, a nice solid cornerstone, if you will.
Yeah. Would you be willing to give up the 11th 11th pick, Steph? Would that be required?
I think it would. I think it would be required, especially if you're not giving up Randall.
Right.
See, if you're giving up Randall, maybe you can give up less. If you're not giving up Randall, you're giving up a lot because you got to think about what Phoenix is going to want.
Mm-hmm.
And you trying to hold back on Randall, you're giving up a lot. But I will say to you two's point, I'm not feeling a Randall, RJ, and
No?
Ayton core at all. I just
You don't
don't.
like it?
I just don't see that team going.
I mean, I think we still
plotting,
need a point
non-athletic.
Okay, I agree there. It might be kind of plotting and non-athletic. I agree with that. I definitely agree there. But I guess I'd be looking and hoping that, I mean, Deandre Ayton, I doubt is going to get any more athletic, but he's 23, so he has a long time to grow to become, a player. I guess you'd have to find. I guess you'd have to find a 3-man and a point guard that's gonna be athletic. Because that would be slow and plotting like a mug. That's true for real. But I mean, let me ask this though: how much faster is Mitch? I mean, I know that Mitch, can spread the floor vertically. But as far as getting up and down the floor, is he that much faster than Ayton? Getting up and down the floor in that aspect?
I think he's more twitchy than
Okay.
than Ayton. Yeah.
And I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I never considered Ayton slow, like running up and down the floor. I thought it's more of the vertically challenged thing. You know what I mean? But it's not. You know what I mean? Even with that, it's not like he can't play above the rim. You know what I mean? It's just
because I look, if we were to get Miles Turner, he's not going to be as athletic as Mitchell Robinson, right? He's not catching a whole bunch of alley-oops. I mean, I would look at him and DeAndre Ayton probably around the same, not the same exact player, but as far as that speed and those type of things, similar in that aspect. But I do agree. You would be slower and plotting. You need to add some talent. You need to inject some life into that lineup. You know what I mean? From your point guard and 3-man spot. Go ahead, Josh.
Sam, I oftentimes when we make these conversations as far as these players, we talk about them as individuals. I'm looking at the Knicks and how they're going to perform as a team, right? Steph said she doesn't think a combination of or a collection of RJ, Randall, Ayton, and whoever else is going to get us or be that good. I think they'll be better than what we are right now, right? And I think right. And I think that if you trade Randall for Ayton, even though it's going to take a little bit of time for our offense to adjust, I think overall down the road, I think our offense will be much better for it, which could potentially make us a better team, right? Now, Steph, you brought up the point about the money. You have two max contracts potentially with 2 guys who are not max players. I think that's all fine and dandy because right now, as it stands right now, the Knicks they don't have any free money. And if they sign those 2 players, we're still not going to have any free money. The way the NBA salary cap is set up, you are allowed to go over the cap, go over the luxury tax.
Right.
Basically, the Knicks, the way they're set up right now, they're just as immobile in the free agent market compared to a team that spends at the luxury tax because we don't have any open cap space. So to me, I think if it makes the team better, I'm willing to make that move. I'm willing to sign DeAndre Ayton because I think it's going to make the team better by getting rid of Randall and bringing in Ayton. I think those pieces fit well together. And like you said, Ayton's on our timeline. And if it doesn't work out, you can still trade him. That's the point.
I don't think giving him a max or giving RJ a max at this point is good front office decision. So
I agree.
I'm not gonna.
I agree with that.
Like I won't even go that far. And I do want to say I wasn't holding out Randall per se, but I'm looking at it from the rumor that they don't want to pay money. Randall ends up being a long-term contract as opposed to negotiating with Mitch to what they want to sign him for or what they could potentially sign him for, and then the expiring coming off the books after the current season. So that it's not me. It's not about me not saying no. You can't have Randall. It's more about I think that would be what they would be looking for to kind of save money long term.
Right. And Josh, I wasn't looking at it as, I mean, Steph mentioned that as a team, they would be slow and plodding type of team, right? And so that's why I was looking at, inserting DeAndre Ayton for Mitchell Robinson. Does he make you that much slower? That's why I was looking at that, because she said, they would be kind of slow and plodding. Obviously, you're not getting the athleticism that Mitchell Robinson has on the team. So I'm looking at it from a team aspect, not just DeAndre Ayton, but from a team aspect and how it works and how it fits together.
This
You know what
team
I'm
would
saying?
be way better with DeAndre Ayton at center than Mitchell Robinson. Let's just get that out the way
Depending
right now.
on who else is on the team, though.
And
Right. Depends on who else is on the team.
I
It
don't
was a
think
one-for-one
that's
swap you said, though. It's a
I don't-
one-for-one swap.
No,
But I'm gonna make another argument.
I don't think that's a definitive fact either, because of the whole chemistry thing. He's been here 4 years. He knows the players around him. There's going to be an adjustment period for
Right. There
Ayton.
will be an
So-
adjustment period.
So we can't automatically assume that. You know what I mean? Like,
Can I-
there's
Tony,
fit and
the last
everything
4
else.
years, the Knicks offense has been last in the one of the worst offenses in the NBA, and I think it's directly related to our center not being able to leave the paint.
So he's the reason.
That's a part
They
of it.
had nothing
No,
to do
I
with
think it's a part of it.
That's a part of it.
direct-
But it's not.
I said-
It's not.
What about not having an adequate point guard? How about that?
Yeah.
What's
shooting.
the percentage of that?
Or
I said-
outside
I said-
shooting.
I said directly related. It's not all Mitchell Robinson's fault. Obviously, Julius Randle didn't have his best season last year. But the fact of the matter is the Knicks offense is not that good. They cannot score in the paint. And last in the NBA in points in the paint last season, 25th the season before that. There's no secret to why. Our centers do not leave the paint. Period.
I don't know if it's directly related to Mitchell Robinson. I think he's part of it.
However you want to put it.
I think he's part of it. But there are so many more obstacles that the Knicks got to get over than just Mitchell Robinson. I'm not saying it's not part of it, but shooting is a
And
big
he
part of
is
it.
our
Point
plus
guard is a
player
big-
in the
come
paint.
on.
So how does he the reason he's our plus player in the paint? Look at where
team.
where he
The
scores
team.
from and his percentage. Take
The
that
team.
away. How bad are we in the paint?
I think we're better because I think our guards can get to the paint without getting their shots blocked. If you got a stretch five, you can be able to get your guards and wings into the paint to score easily. Maybe RJ Barrett, I know he can't jump over a nickel, but at least he can score a little bit better without Mitchell Robinson standing there blocking him.
I have a question.
don't know.
How stretchy is Ayton? Like, is he a true stretch? I mean, I know he can shoot the three. I know he can shoot, in the key, but
I don't think
would you
he's-
consider him a stretch five?
No, I don't think so.
I think he
I mean,
has the ability
he made it at like
he has
30.
a mid range.
Yeah, he made it at like 38% last year, but it wasn't a lot of shots, right? It was like maybe 0.75 shots a game or something like that. I don't know, or maybe even less.
Oh, not
So it
even
wasn't a lot of
okay.
shots.
Like I told them before, it doesn't necessarily have to be a guy, a five that can stretch the floor. It can be a five that you can throw the ball down to and say, go get me a bucket or go to work in the post. I think that can open up the offense a little bit more. Even though I would prefer a stretch five, but I think
Right.
that can be just as valuable having a center around there that can go score and get his own bucket.
Well, let me offer this. My preference then for less money would be to draft Doran. I think in 2 years, you're going to get
Okay.
from him what you can get from Ayton in terms of playing in the post, hitting a little jump shot. He may not be able to hit the three, but if you're not looking for somebody for stretch five, he can operate, down there in the post for less money, and it frees up us. Now we can really go out and get a star.
I mean,
I'm
yeah,
really
I-
sold on this guy. I think he's going to
Mhm.
be really good.
I know. I've watched him a little bit. He can knock down the mid range. He's got some post moves. A few post moves. He's got the footwork to develop more. Obviously, he has an NBA sized body. You know what I mean?
And the face-up shot too. So.
And,
yeah.
and
And
one
the face-up
thing
shot.
I do want to add about Ayton, I think he's been underutilized. And I think he's a guy that you could actually run the offense through at times, give him the ball in the paint and let him go to work. You know what I mean? Like, he's kind of been used sparingly, at least from what I've seen from the past couple of years, two years. So I think there's more to him than we've actually seen.
Yeah. We will see. And ladies and gentlemen, I apologize, but the phone line is down. Hopefully later on tonight or tomorrow it'll be back up. But for some reason, the system is not working correctly. I don't know if I need an update or whatever it is. So we will not be able to get any phone calls in today, but I'll try to find as many people in the chat and what your comments are and, post them up there as possible. And I do want to remind you, Steph just reminding us about the draft. It's in like a week and a half, ladies and gentlemen, and those tickets for the draft party are available. So please make sure you join us. It's going to be dope. We're looking forward to having a lot of fun. It's $40 for both days, which is June 23rd and 24th. $30 for just one day. All right, it could be the 23rd or the 24th. We understand that you got to work and all of those type of things. We're going to have the live podcast. We got giveaways. We'll be shooting a video for the NBK intro song. The next day, we'll be doing another live podcast to kind of do a follow-up on what happened at the draft and whatever happened overnight. We'll also be having a basketball game that day, me versus Big Bubba. And Tony, my man Uru, said he's down to play.
All right.
Eru, I said Uru, Die Hard Knicks podcast. He said he's down to play. So, you might got a challenger on your hands. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you get your tickets, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you get your tickets. Staying on the theme of the centers, right? And, we're talking about Deandre Ayton here. What teams, we'll stick with Deandre Ayton. What teams, if the Knicks were to pursue on Deandre Ayton, what teams out there are going to be a real threat to steal him away? I mean, Detroit, they got money to be able to sign him and really absorb that contract if they wanted to. You know what I mean? And totally get Phoenix off of that any money so that they have the freedom to maneuver however they want to maneuver, plus throw them draft picks or whatever. The Atlanta Hawks, I don't know, they'd have to probably include Clint Capella. I don't know what their salary cap looks like. Who else might be interested in DeAndre Ayton? Tony, I'll start with you.
I mean, those are the main threats. I don't know what Utah's doing with Gobert, but they may be in the looking for a center. I mean, I think there's a bunch of competition, and I mean, one could argue that makes it more likely that we keep Mitch, but that also opens up another opportunity for somebody to look into Mitch with Phoenix. So it's gonna be interesting. I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to take a center in the draft, or at least early in the draft. You know what I mean? I think I'd much rather get a more established player or rock out with Mitch if possible and continue his growth. But I mean, yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, Steph, any thoughts there?
I think I read that San Antonio may be interested.
Oh, I could see that happening.
In him as well. Detroit, as we talked about. And I think it comes down to, does Phoenix, if they're going to execute a sign and trade, do they like anybody on our roster? Or,
right.
Atlanta is someone else who's been linked to them. They're willing to get rid of Collins, maybe Capella, so, they would be in there as well.
Okay. I just read that the Atlanta Hawks are willing to possibly include or attach draft picks to move Collins? Did I see that somewhere? I thought I seen that. Let me see. I thought I seen it from Woj. I'm gonna check right now. But
so somebody Hawkeye, he says I'll trade Randall for Collins. I'm interested in you guys' take, but what really intrigues me is Randall and Trae Young coming to the Garden.
Oh man. That'd be crazy.
I'll just say, I mean, the Randall for Collins thing is pretty interesting. But Atlanta is an example as exactly a team that, I gave an example of earlier, a team that basically paid all their guys, Trae Young, obviously he got his money, right? And then you got Herter, you got Collins, you got Capella. All these guys are making big money, right? The Hawks are operating over the luxury tax right now, right? And these are all their young guys, all their young pieces or whatever, and they really aren't going anywhere. But as you can tell, a lot of these guys can get traded. So I just think the Knicks can be better than what they are right now. Bringing in a guy like Deandre Ayton can make the Knicks better. I think a Randall for Ayton swap makes the Knicks better, at least in the short term. And if it doesn't work out, you can still move guys right after
But
that.
see,
I have
that's
no
where I
problem
would
with that.
see. I would disagree with saying at least in the short term. I would say that would be in the long term. I don't know if they would be better in the short term because I don't know if just Randall for DeAndre Ayton is an upgrade for the Knicks. I don't know if that's an upgrade. You could talk about chemistry, but it's going to take some time for that chemistry to develop as well. You know what I mean? So I would say if that's going to make the Knicks better, it would be more in the long term. You're looking another year or two down the line, in my opinion, when you add some more pieces and you know, you get the chemistry going, you get a point guard in. You know, I would look at it that way. And then, of course, DeAndre Ayton gets better himself.
Someone in the chat said if CP3 couldn't unlock him, what is he gonna do over here on the Knicks without a point guard?
That is a horrible take.
Why is that a horrible take? Why is that a horrible take?
Because DeAndre Ayton is a really good center. He's a really good player.
I'm not saying he's not.
Yeah, but he said, "Oh, CP3 can't unlock him, and who's gonna?" That's a terrible, terrible way to look at it.
Was he on the team?
I argue that he did unlock him.
Was he on the team before CP3 got there? Obviously, he got better over the years, but was he on the team? And where were they? He was part of that. He was part of that nucleus. It took CP3 to get there to make that team better, not DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, but no, he mentioned. Hold on, he confused it. You're talking about the Suns in general overall. Like the guy said, DeAndre Ayton himself. If CP3 couldn't unlock DeAndre Ayton, not unlock the Suns.
I mean, he didn't say unlock, but basically, if he wasn't great on a team with CP3, how great is he going to be on this team? And I would assume because we don't have a point guard, so we would definitely need one.
He was a really good player on the Suns. He still is I think the Suns would rather keep him if they can lower down the price. But I think the Suns
basically what I'm saying is, I mean, you know, he averaged basically the same thing before CP3 got there. Right? CP3 gets there, you know, it's the same. 16 and 10, 18 and 11, 14 and 10, 17 and 10. Basically the same thing before and after CP3. You know what I'm saying? So when he was giving his production before CP3, obviously the team added other pieces and it's not just on him, you know, but they were one way. As soon as CP3 gets there, all of a sudden they're championship contenders. And he's still averaging the same thing. So I think what that person is saying, I mean, they're a better team. He's averaging the same thing. So then maybe that makes his value a little bit more. Right? But, you know, what's he going to do? I don't know. What's he going to do?
Or maybe he doesn't need a point guard if he's averaging the same thing, right? If you look at it that way.
Maybe. Or maybe he had Devin Booker there too, helping him, you know, get his stuff. I don't know. I guess you wouldn't know until he doesn't have either one of those guys, right? Like that's the only way. You wouldn't know until you don't have either one of those guys.
I'll say it again, though. I do think he was underutilized with the occurrence of CP3. There was things that CP3 did to help him for sure, but he also was kind of put into a box. And that's what he had to conform to as opposed to the way he scored and using his abilities prior to CP3. Right. That wasn't accessible anymore.
Right.
And probably because they had a lot of other options ahead of him. You know, we don't. So maybe he would get more touches here.
And I would say, you know, he was also young. He's 23 years old now. You know what I mean? So, you know, he came in his first 2 years without CP3. You know, he's learning the game, and he's still learning the basketball game. So I don't know if you can say CP3 did or did not unlock him. I could definitely agree there because he's got a long ways to go in the league. You know, and I do think he's going to be a very good center in this league for a long time. You know what I mean? I just don't know if right away he makes the Knicks that much better than what they are right now, right away. I think it would take a little bit more time than just, you know, you add them and all of a sudden, boom, they're in playoffs or something like that.
Right. So can I highlight another comment?
Yeah, go for it.
But in terms of pieces, I get where, you know, what Josh is saying. If, you know, piece by piece, step by step, you know, if you add him as a piece, you know, and continue to build, you know, depending on the other moves you make, you can wind up eventually being a better team.
What's your guys' thoughts on that championship team? Don't need centers like Ayton anymore. and kind of the trend of the NBA, we've seen a lot of a lot of centers being benched throughout these playoffs, or not being able to adjust to the other teams going small and things of that nature. What are your thoughts on that?
Listen, I think the NBA is going that way, but I think teams are starting to be a little bit more versatile. You look at a team like Miami. Miami has Bam Adebayo, right? Bam Adebayo is versatile enough where he can be able to play down low and bang down low and still be able to be versatile on the offensive end and do other things outside of the paint. So I think Ayton is not as athletic as Bam Adebayo, obviously, but I believe because he doesn't clog the paint, he can do more outside of there. And defensively, to me, I think he can defend the pick and roll well. I don't think he's a liability on defense at all. Right. And he also sets screens really well offensively as well. So I think Ayton is kind of a little tweener in between there. And let's say, the Knicks don't get a guy like that in the starting lineup. You can always have a backup guy, a small guy like Grant Williams or whatever coming off the bench to put your small ball lineup in. I think it's multiple ways you can do
it. Yeah. I think Bam was the example of the new NBA, though.
That's why I said Ayton is nothing like Bam Adebayo. Yeah. Bam Adebayo is much more athletic.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to depend on where and how he develops. If he ends up being a guy that can really knock down a mid-range shot, knock down a three here and there, guy that has a killer post-up game, he'll still be able to do what he can do. It'll be on the other side of the ball. Can he defend? If they go small, can he defend? But then that's where you say, all right, we got to set you out and bring in another guy that can defend, I think. Mitchell Robinson. There are, I think Mark Berman, put something out maybe yesterday or the day before about Mitchell Robinson, about the Chicago Bulls having heavy interest in Mitchell Robinson. So he can, he can be that defensive anchor that they don't have right now. Any thoughts on that? And obviously, they don't have the money to sign him outright. Okay, so they'd have to maneuver and do some things, right? They got to worry about Zach LaVine this summer, so they'd have to try to find a way to fit Mitchell Robinson into their salary structure. But any thoughts there? Worried about him?
I don't think Mitch is a threat to go there unless we're getting Zach LaVine. And I say that because Zach LaVine has to be their top priority. I don't think they do anything until they secure or try to figure out what he's doing. And they're going to ultimately have to wait for him. He's going to look around. He's going to see what's out there. So I think Mitch still gets done earlier in free agency than LaVine's deal, unless somehow it's the same deal.
I'm thinking about a player like Vucevic. Where's Vucevic going to go? They just traded for him a couple seasons ago or last season or what have you. So would we be getting Vucevic back in a deal?
No,
Are we going to be able to?
Well, according to the report, they would be looking at having Mitchell Robinson next to Vucevic.
Then what about Patrick Williams?
I guess he goes to the bench. I guess he goes to the bench or whatever.
Or they lose to LaVine and he's the three.
So according to the report, it says the Bulls want to enhance their interior defense and believe Robinson could be a good fit slotted alongside offensive-minded center Nikola Vucevic. Chicago reportedly has $49 million in cap space, but that's before they commit to their own free agent in Zach LaVine. All right. I don't know we don't know what Zach LaVine is going to command and the structure of that contract. So let's say Zach LaVine starts at $35 million a year, right? They have $49 million in cap space. Who knows how other things work out with their salary as far as draft picks, et cetera, et cetera. But if they have $49 million and they start Zach LaVine at somewhere around 35 or 38, that could be enough to sign Mitchell Robinson outright.
They can sign Mitchell Robinson first and go over the cap for LaVine.
And go over the cap for LaVine, probably. That's what I was thinking, too. Yeah, I don't know.
So it is. I didn't know they had cap space.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
So that could be. Mitchell Robinson's gonna have a few suitors out there. Obviously, Detroit, and then. So let's say something does happen with Deandre Ayton, and it doesn't include the Knicks, and they don't get a center back. They may be saying, "We're looking to try to sign a guy like Mitch."
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm
That could
saying.
be a
Opens
suitor.
up that door.
Right, opens up that door. That could be a suitor. Especially if a team like Detroit was willing to just absorb DeAndre Ayton's contract, and now Phoenix got, $30 million to spend. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it'd be. I think they're already over the salary cap. Let me check Phoenix's.
They
Yeah,
could be.
but how
I don't know.
much?
They could be.
Phoenix payroll.
Yeah. I've said it before. I'm okay either way. If Mitch comes back and the Knicks see, something in him and they believe that he's going to continue to develop, fine. But if they let Mitch go, I just feel like we'll be able to get that production. I know there's some intangibles in terms of, what he does defensively, switching out on bigs. He's not as great as he once was. I get that, what he brings off as far as offensive rebounding. But I just think we can get that production. We can get it in the draft.
Yeah.
I think we can get it in the draft. So, yeah. And some of these center prospects, 4 years, I think they'll be, better than Mitch in that same 4 years. Now, now Mitch started more raw.
Right.
As well. He started.
Right,
So
right.
I do get that.
Right. And I know at 8:00 tonight, you're going to be looking at centers in the second round, right?
Second round centers, yeah.
Yeah.
And what does that mean for this, the centers we have, including Sims? So I think some of the fan base is high on, who I really like as well. But in terms of his upside after 4 years at Texas, that has to be, talked about or questioned as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. The Knicks have 17 days to decide if they're going to extend Mitch or, do whatever they're going to do. I still believe it doesn't happen by June 30th because they can go over the cap to sign him. I think they would rather keep that flexibility, even though they may not go over the cap. They may not want to go over the cap, but they might want to just keep that flexibility to sign him over the cap just in case something happens and they're able to make a move. You know what I mean? And then they're like, okay, boom, we made this move. Now we need to really put some pieces together and we can sign this guy over the cap. So I'm expecting that, whatever that deal to be, wouldn't happen until later on in free agency. That's what I'm thinking. You never know, though, what could happen. Moves are being made already, though. Before, right now during the finals, OKC just made a move out. I'm trying to find it. I don't remember exactly.
The Nuggets and OKC.
The Nuggets, yeah, that's right. The Nuggets and OKC made a move today. OKC,
Really?
Yeah, let me find it here.
Michael Green.
Yep. The Nuggets are acquiring Oklahoma City's 30th overall pick for JaMychal Green.
Wow.
Yep. It says Denver is trading JaMychal Green. This is through Adrian Wojnarowski. Denver is trading JaMychal Green in a protected 2027 first-round pick to Oklahoma City for the number 30 pick in this month's NBA draft and 2 future second-round picks. So the Nuggets now have the number 21 and the 30 in this draft, and now the Thunder have number 2, number 12, and number 34.
Salary.
Yeah, that was a favor.
No, why would it be a favor for who?
A favor for OKC to owe to Denver.
Now
They're targeting somebody in that late first or you know what I mean, that they don't want it to make to the second.
I think this is all about a salary dump, Sim. If you think about it, JaMychal Green's an expiring contract. I believe his contract is around $8 million for next season. I think they just want to dump that salary and risk that 30th pick or whatever, which is going to be guaranteed money, but it won't be anywhere near $8 million a season. And I think that's the reason why they did it. And it goes along with what I've been saying about what the Knicks should do. People are concerned about the Knicks not having cap space right now. The Knicks operated just above the cap threshold last season, and now we got Burks, and now we got Noel, we got Kemba, we got Rose. All these guys are expiring contracts. So hypothetically, we can dump that salary to a team that has a bunch of draft picks, gives us some second rounders, and that'd be a way to open up cap space right there. And I think the Knicks could do that. I think they can find a trade partner to take a Rose or take on a Kemba for expiring deal. I think a team would be much more willing to do that.
Well, why did OKC do it?
Because they have too many picks and too much cap space.
But again, as a favor, do you think they value JaMychal Green and see?
But they also got a first round pick consideration as well. It wasn't just straight up.
Right.
No, I know, but I'm saying the value is on the Denver's part. They're targeting somebody. That's why they went after that pick. That's all I'm saying.
Targeting someone or looking to package it now that they have two. It says Green is expected to exercise his $8.2 million contract for 2022 and 2023. The deal gives the Nuggets flexibility to use a $6.4 million tax mid-level exception or an $8.2 million trade exception in the offseason. All right, so now that they moved him, they have a little bit more space to sign somebody this offseason. The Nuggets do. And then the Nuggets are expected to be a tax-paying team next year. The Thunder have $31 million in cap space to absorb Green's salary. So there's that.
$8 million.
There's that right there. So $8 million. They pick up a draft pick. They pick up a number 30 pick. The last pick in the draft, what's that going to be? Maybe $2 million or something like that. It's guaranteed they pay that. They also got to pay that number 21 pick. So that almost, equals that 8 point whatever million dollars. But then they still have a little bit more flexibility with the trade exception and the mid-level exception. So moves are starting to be made. Yeah, I don't know if the Knicks will make any kind of moves like that at all. I think the Knicks are the type of team that's going to wait until, if they see a guy that they want, if that guy is not drafted and they say, oh, this guy can drop, then they might start making moves like that. I think that's probably what we'll see from the Knicks as far as making moves.
Sam, when it comes to Kemba Walker, I don't expect him to be here. I think that'd be the type of move that the Knicks would make to get rid of Kemba. In my opinion, that's what I think will happen.
I mean, yeah.
And receiving the first round pick?
No, it'd be like a second rounder, just to get the money off, just to get him out of it. Like
we might have to put a second.
Yeah, I mean,
we might have to add a second round.
The thing is, you got to have another team that's going to absorb his contract. You can't just trade him. The team has to absorb his contract in order for you to have that money free for this summer.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think the Knicks, there's a lot of teams out there that can be able to do that have second round picks that they could be willing to give up for someone like a Kemba Walker to take them on. Money expiring off the books, you open up $8 million. I think another team is willing to do that.
Yeah, or willing to take two of the Knicks second round picks to do it.
No, I don't know. I think we'll get a second round pick in that deal.
Wow. Wow.
I really do. I really think we can get a second round pick in a deal for Kemba Walker because a team is looking at it as cap space. That's what they're looking at. You know what I'm saying? That's money coming off the books.
Huh?
Kemba Walker's money is expired.
But that wouldn't make any sense for the Knicks.
Why wouldn't it?
Because in order for Kemba Walker's contract to come off of another team's cap, they've got to trade somebody back to us who has a longer contract. That's how it gives them cap relief.
I'm so confused right now. We can give up Kemba Walker to another team, and they can give us a second round pick or a couple second round picks.
But it's not going to help them free their cap.
Yeah, they're taking on cap.
Not this season. I'm talking about the expiring contract.
But if we're not getting anything back, then there was no cap for them to save money off of.
Right.
They're taking on the salary for a year.
They're taking on.
Okay.
Hence why I said the previous trade is a favor. Because I don't think they necessarily want JaMychal Green. I think they was doing a favor.
I don't think they do favors though, Tony. I think they're getting something out of it. Why would you do favor? Y'all brothers or something? Y'all family?
You don't think that happens in the NBA?
Not favors. I think you're doing it because you think it's going to help you.
When you're in that position of no man's land and no Like, you know what I mean? Like your future's not near. So I think it happens. Maybe I'm just a conspiracist.
JaMychal Green is absolute trade bait. I believe if Kemba Walker gets traded to a team and we take on some second round picks, I think Kemba Walker would be trade bait because a team is willing to take on his expiring contract.
So we don't have to we can trade him and not take on salary. We could trade a $9 million contract for a second round pick.
That's what just happened.
If they have the cap space.
If the other team has the cap space to absorb it. Right. I can see what Tony's saying because I'm not sure what OKC really gets out of this. Because even if they kept that 30th pick, they're not going to have to pay that 30th pick $8.2 million. So I'm trying to figure out what OKC gets out of it because
salary
the Thunder,
filler, Sam.
Huh?
Salary filler on the trade.
They have to reach the floor.
Yeah,
that too.
I mean, even with that, if they don't reach the floor, that money gets divided amongst the players there. Why not? You know what I mean? Like I don't see why
amongst the players, right?
I just think JaMychal Green is going to be a trade. He's not going to be there long term. He's someone that can be
that can be true. That doesn't dispute what I'm saying.
And they get a first round.
I mean, they do get to 2027.
No, I know it's in the future. It's protected. I get it, but for the team, I mean, maybe they value people in that particular year of that future pick.
Yeah.
Especially if it's next year's draft.
Yeah, but as far as Kemba, I think the Knicks would be throwing out some draft picks for Kemba. You know, second round, not first round, second round picks. You know, why would a team say, okay, New York, we're gonna take Kemba off your hands and let you free up space so you can sign somebody this summer, and we'll give you a second round pick for it.
I don't think teams look at New York and say, "Oh, okay, we're going to help you free your books up." It's not like that. It's not like that. The team, no, like Steph.
But that's what they're doing. If they don't take back some second round picks from us, that's what they're doing.
No, but that's not the way they're thinking, Sim. They're going to take on a player like Kemba Walker because his money's coming off my books
at the floor.
Well, no, that's what Steph said. I didn't say that part. No. What I'm saying is they're going to take on a player like Kemba Walker because, one, he's actual money that could be moved in another deal, number one. And two, if you keep him, his money coming off the books at the end of the season.
But that money coming off the books doesn't mean anything if they didn't send another player back to us.
Yeah, if they didn't have the money there in the first place.
If they had $30 million to spend and they're absorbing Kemba Walker's contract, right? They would have had that money anyway. So that coming off the books doesn't really mean much. They would have to value Kemba Walker as a player and say, okay, we're going to get Kemba Walker for $9 million, you know, and so we'll give you a second round draft pick for that. I don't know if a team is going to value him in that way. Even if they do, they're not going to say that they value him because his value, I think, is super duper low right now. That's why I think.
Or to your point that they think that they can flip him and get more. But I don't think that's the case with.
No. I'm just saying like a salary filler and a bigger deal. You have $8 million of salary that you can be able to move.
Or you can just, or if you have this $30 million, you can just absorb it. You don't have to worry about moving that other player. You know, so that's why I think we would be sending out, you know, maybe two second round draft picks, not first round, 2 second round draft picks or something like that to try to move on from Kemba, which I'd be willing to do.
I don't think his contract is that bad that you have to attach 2 draft picks to him, though. $8 million is not a lot.
Well, maybe 1 draft pick, but I think to entice a team to say, yeah, we'll take on his salary.
Especially if we're not matching the salary and taking back a contract that they don't want.
Right.
But wouldn't that just be for the roster spot, though? Does that help? Does that $9 million really help us? We still going to be over the cap, or would we be under?
If it's just that alone, we would be under at this point.
We would.
So for this summer coming up, 2022. The Knicks are at $119 million, right? That's what they owe. I think the salary cap is projected to be $121, so they're like $2 million below. If they were to move Kemba Walker's contract, now all of a sudden they're like $11, almost $12 million below, so they have that money to spend. You know, so and then they still have like a 10-point, whatever $1 million mid-level exception that they could spend as well.
And can waive Taj Gibson and save $5 more million.
Yep, you could. You could not guarantee Taj Gibson's contract. He has no money guaranteed for 2022 and 23. So then you could free up right there. You could free up another $5 million, and then
so that's $16 million we would have in cap space.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's
about-
ways that you
that's
can make
about
cap
six-
room.
That's about $16 million that they would have that they
Could
could
that be-
spend.
Oh, we in a good spot, and we're
Could-
not even
could-
talking about the expiring contracts.
next year.
Well, right
you know?
now we
Well,
don't
for
have
next
any.
year.
Right now we don't have any for next
Right.
year.
Right. And,
But
and
that's
yeah.
that's 16. Maybe that entices Brunson to start, and the
That's
salary
16.
kicks up 8% each year. You know what I mean, the max that you could increase the salary, and I don't know what that adds to, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
So-
Maybe that is a good starting point.
Yeah.
And then we can re-sign Mitch and go
Right.
over.
So those are some things. Those are some things in some ways. But my man Mark tried to jump in right when we're getting ready to jump off.
I thought that was Jesus Shuttleworth that
Maybe he can come on. Tony, you getting ready to go on? What time are you going on?
6:45, about 15 minutes.
6:45. So I guess Mark just staying there. We'll send you the link over to Tony's show, and Tony, if you want him to jump on, he can jump in.
I would love to have Mark on next week.
Yeah. Because I'm getting ready to head off, so we can make time to make sure we get Tony's show in. And then at 8:00, we have the Queen's Court coming on at 8:00, where we're going to talk about second round picks, second round center options, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you're checking that out. By the way, the show is brought to you by thegameday.com. Make sure you get to thegameday.com for all of your up-to-date sports content and betting odds. There's a link in the description of the video. There's also a link in the description of the video for the draft tickets, ladies and gentlemen. So please make sure you get those draft tickets. Tony, I'm going to start
Yes,
with
sir.
you. You want to let us know, what the show is going to be about in like 15 minutes?
Something
And,
like we're gonna freestyle most of it, but I want to talk about Charles Barkley's comments on the Knicks and Stephen A. Smith's recent comments about Westbrook and how disrespectful New York media and media in general is. It's they starting early. It's not. They preparing to judge the draft picks and everything. So it's coming.
Yeah, start mad early, right? It's crazy. Uncle Fulio?
Yeah, salute, Sam. I had a good time talking about this topic. Listen, I'm all on board for Ayton. I think the Knicks can definitely make it work. I think we should definitely look to upgrade at the center position. I think it'll unlock our offense a little bit better than what it is right now. Ayton definitely makes us better. There's no question about that. And as far as the Knicks being able to open up money, the Knicks can do that. We're flexible enough to do that. So for all those people who hate the front office, just understand the reason why the Knicks are in the spot that they are right now is because the front office made those moves and made us flexible. So.
All right.
Yep.
And Steph?
Yeah. Great show. We'll see. I think the Knicks can upgrade that center position in the first round of the draft as well for cheaper than Ayton, but I like Ayton as well. So whatever the Knicks, decide to do, I'm on board with that.
Yeah, no doubt. I think they can get, when you talk about fit, I think they can get a player that fits and is able to provide you value, and then still be able to, if Mitch wasn't coming back and still be able to make moves to upgrade the team, even if it wasn't Ayton. So, but I wouldn't be opposed to Ayton coming in. I just want to see them, make sure that, or not make sure, but know that they have a plan or know what their plan is to keep the team getting better. You know what I mean? But ladies and gentlemen, we're up out of here. Appreciate your time. The link to the draft party tickets pinned to your YouTube chat. It's also in the description of the video. I also just put a link to Knicks and Bruises at 6:45 in the chat. So make sure you jump on over there right now. And then, of course, at 8:00, we got the Queen's Court. So we got a lot going on, ladies and gentlemen. We're out of here. We appreciate your time. And, make sure that you get out there for everything. Get out. Peace. The second annual NBK draft party in Atlantic City. There'll be a live podcast, live DJ, live video shoot. $40 for a VIP ticket, $30 for draft night only. Get your tickets now.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place to tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.